Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in with V. We are going to get on a really good topic today. Our topic is going to be, are you someone who sees the surface or do you look deeper? And we're going to get into what that talks about. What I mean by that. I do want to introduce my guest speaker here is my son, Kawika Fujiwara.
All right. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, so this is his third time, I think it is,
Yes.
being on
Third
here.
time.
So if you haven't seen the episodes that he's been on before, please see them. We've had really good conversations. My son, he might be my son, but he is a pretty wise old soul individual. He likes to hang out with older people. He just came back this weekend hanging out with people that were 3 times your age.
Yeah.
They were my age, or about maybe a little younger than me.
Yes.
They were at least 40 and up.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I had some people that were 44, and then one person was, I think the oldest was 56. So it was a great time, and taking care of them was a lot of fun. These people were disabled people, of course, but it was really good to hang out with those type of people, express how their individual selves are different, and just because they all have Down syndrome or autism, they all have their different personalities, and I think that's really unique to see.
That's awesome.
Because they all perform differently, they all have their different habits. So when you see that and you get a little bit deeper into it, I think you have more appreciation for it.
And that's going to lead into us talking about this topic. And didn't know, by the way, I'm just throwing it out there. It did not fall. Like every topic we talk about is something that comes with deep within. I have a list of things that I've wanted to talk about for all my life. And this just fell into play with him going this weekend to go on to camp with a couple of people that are volunteers from one of our farmers markets. And I got great praise reports saying that my son did very well, and he just really interacts with all the guests, the people that were there, and he did really well. He has a heart for every individual of mankind, and I love that about my son, that he will see anyone that has a disability challenge, which we would call disability challenge. I just like to say that we're different, we're special. Everybody is special, and so in our own uniqueness, and he will see anybody from an animal to a homeless person on the street. It doesn't matter. He has a heart for people, and I really love that about this kid. And so I'm grateful that he went on this trip this weekend. It was only for like a day and a half for you, really, huh? Because you left on Saturday.
I left on Saturday.
Saturday early morning.
Came back on Sunday late night.
Evening, yeah. So in that, I would like, with what we're going to discuss, I mean, if you want to share how those things fall into play with what we're going to discuss, let's let the viewers hear, because I think the reason for having Kawika on the show is because there's a different age gap. There's about almost 40 years difference between Kawika and I, 39 in a few months. And I had him when I was 39 years old. And when I got pregnant with him, I was like, who does that? Like, who gets pregnant at 40, or almost 40, unless you haven't had any children? That's a whole different concept. Right. But I can definitely tell you that having Kawika was a challenge for me mentally, spiritually, and physically. So I had decided at that point, I want to be able to play with this kid. I want to be able to do the things if obviously he's not going anywhere. Never thought that I was going to have another kid after him, but that was going to give me more deeper challenges. But in that, he, having him at an older age was a challenge in itself, in a good way and in a bad way. In the bad way meaning that it's a little harder to keep up with him. But that's the reason why I live the lifestyle I live now, so I can, because I surprise him at times, and he's like, man, I didn't think you could do that, Mom. And I'm like,
she keeps on getting younger somehow. It's like, it's weird.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to talk about today is, are you someone who sees just the surface, or do you look deeper? And with the individuals that Kawika was with this weekend, you know, you could look at the surface out, right? You can see people who have autism. You could see people who have some type of mental or physical challenge.
Yes.
But do you be shallow about it? Do you just look at the diagnoses, right? And we, as we talked about on the previous episodes, do you look at that, or do you look at the root of it? Do you look at the root of the person, you know? And that is what I want people to understand. And because this whole meaning of this topic is, it amazes me how superficial we are today. And it's mind boggles me, because it's more, people are more superficial in his age, and even in my age now. Like, a lot of women and men that are over 40, they don't want to get old, right? I mean, we really don't want to get old. I want to age with grace, is how I look at life, as someone who is almost 40 years older than him, or anyone else that is older than me. I want to age with grace. I don't want to have aches and pains and, you know,
those challenges in the morning. And those,
purpose challenge, right? Yeah. Self-inflicted challenges, like I say about my family.
You did it to yourself.
Right. Yeah. These people, these individuals you were with, they didn't do that. They were born this way, right? So they don't have the same mechanisms as we do.
They don't have the same idea of it.
In their brain, telling them that they have to get stitched, snatched, look a certain way, dress a certain way, you know. They just happy.
They express their personalities differently, and they're not judged by other people like themselves, because I feel like when you're in an area or what's the word I'm looking for? Just an area, you know, where you're with environment. There you go. Thank you. Where you're in those type of areas or environments with those type of people that are like those people, it's a lot easier for them to express themselves. They don't feel confined, or they don't feel very judged, because they don't know what judged is. They don't know, or maybe they do. They have an idea of it, but
depending on the level of their
challenge. And some were smarter than others, and they're all really smart, but more.
They have more capabilities.
Individual-wise, knowingly, we're a lot more there, and they feel it, and they know. And I can see it too. And when you put that compared to people nowadays that are so superficial, and people they feel entitled, it's the entitlement that they feel that drives them to be like that. Because even these older people that are your age, and the people feel entitled, is because they want to keep up with the younger group. And that's what my opinion is that they want to keep up with the younger generation, you know, act a certain way, trying to be what they're not, and that's really the superficial part about it. And it's sad, because they're all really self-centered.
Yeah, and that's why I put here that how we're really quick to get snatched up, snipped up here or there. You know, I mean, I scroll through Instagram, for instance, and I'm sick and tired of seeing some girl's booty up in my face when I'm in Instagram. And I'm like, why? Why do I got to see this girl with a 20-inch waist, which is not friggin' realistic? I mean, seriously. I think my father had it your grandfather had a 19-inch waist, and I only know that because his naval pants said 19 inches. He was literally 18 years old, 17, 18 years old when he joined the military. Like, are you serious? Like, not even he has a 19-inch waist.
No, I have like a 21, right? 21?
No. Well, you're wearing a size 30 pants, waist.
Is it waist?
So, but 31. It's your little big. So he's probably about a 28, 20, somewhere between 25, 28 waist. But he's 15 years old versus someone who is my age or in between our ages that has a, 25-inch waist and her ass is like this big. You know, I mean.
Which they're not thinking about the long run about it too. Is that when you get older, that doesn't get older with you at all.
Right.
Like, it's fake.
Like, how many times have we seen elder people that are even older than me?
Right.
And we've gone somewhere and we say like, oh my gosh, that's not changing. And then that leads us into when we start talking about like people that, I mean, I have a tattoo on my arm and like, it's going to look differently on me now and when I'm 70.
Versus then, yeah.
But I can tell my story about my tattoo, right? I don't believe in getting tattoos just to get them and all over your body just
No,
for
there has to
whatever
be a
reason.
meaning.
My tattoo has a meaning, and it's a significance only for me. So we can get snatched up, and we can get snipped, and we can do all these quick things, and we can correct the outside, but we're not quick to
Fixing
quick the
the inside.
inside, right?
Yeah.
We're okay with taking a pill, getting a drink, having the quick fix, having the entitlement mentality that Kawika's talking about. And, instead of going to therapy and seeking support to optimize your mental status, or, your diet plays a huge factor into your mental status. You know that. We talked about that on a previous episode on how when you eat and consume certain things, you start reacting a certain way, and guess what? You start eating healthier, you start feeling healthier, you start wanting to have energy to do other things, and you have a better habit of being kinder and loving towards people, and that other people, and you look deeper within yourself than just looking at the stuff on the outside.
Right, because I have this example. Is that there was this girl I was talking to at my school, and prom was coming up, right? Prom is this big dance. People make it sound so big, right? And so I asked her, what is she wearing to the dance? And it looks like the same dress everybody else is wearing. Everybody else is the same looking dress or same style. And like, why are you not expressing yourself? Like, you're not any different from them. Like they all have their individual selves and they all have their own style. But why are you trying to make yourself look like them? Like, express yourself, and that's where coming into play of where people are so individually self-centered for how they look on the outside, and it's just trying to catch up with everybody else, and it's not very good to look at, because when you're trying to compare yourself, and comparison is the killers of all things, right? Including when you're jealous or you're superficial in that way, it's bad. And it was kind of sad for me to see, because they're my age, and they're older, and maybe like 2 years older, but still, like, that's not really good for, one, being you're so young, and two, that's really superficial.
Well, I'm always sharing with my son that when a young lady is having to wear a dress that is like right here, right under her butt crack, and her chi-chis are all hanging out trying to say hello to you, that's a young lady who doesn't know how to value herself.
Right.
And her mother didn't value herself either, or whoever's raising her, because they didn't teach her how to value herself. And I always teach him that it is very important for him to look deeper within, that if you are going to mess around with a girl that is like that, that is what you're accepting, right? And so I demonstrate you can feel sexy, which they should know nothing about sexiness as far as I'm concerned. But if you're an elder woman, an older person, even a man, you could feel sexy and feel confident within yourself being clothed. I mean, if you're in Antarctic and you are wearing clothes all over, you could still walk and feel sexy. You don't need to be all showing me all your business to feel that way, because it's someone who's not looking deep within themselves. They're about
There's not
looking
a lot
on
of
the outside.
Self-value right
There
there.
isn't any self-value at all, and there's no control, and there's nobody teaching them, and that's the whole point of us doing this episode
It's actually
with
lack
you.
of control from the parents' end.
Right.
There's more of lack of control versus self-control and more discipline, because I feel like discipline is dimmed down a lot, and discipline is really not a subject anymore.
So just to piggyback on that, this was not part of this thing. So it brought a thought to me, because I'm looking at my son right now and how he is dressed right now. And by all means, he dressed himself. I don't dress him. But I will say what he's not allowed to wear. Like, he has tried to go out with pajama pants to walk his brother to the bus stop. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're not doing that.
It's just me being lazy.
No. Or wearing I'm cool with him wearing his slides, which we call slippers, in our
chanclas.
house. And but I'm like, no, you're not wearing pajamas. Like I can go on a whole tangent, rabbit hole with that one.
Yeah.
I think that's just straight out laziness. I'm gonna keep it at that. But I didn't dress him. And he's wearing a shirt today that belongs to his great grandfather. And that shirt is like over 40 years old, at least. And he wasn't wearing that when we walked out the door originally. And then he goes back in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were, right behind me. I thought I was the last one out. And he decided to change into that shirt. I'm like, okay, cool. He's making his own statement. He's feeling his own way. But the shirt he had on before was perfectly fine. But that's what he wants to wear. And as long as it's him not looking a certain way that is going to make himself look like everybody else, like how he was before. Mm-hmm. So before, he had this problem with wearing his pants like other
sagging
people.
My pants. It's called sagging your pants.
Well, I was going to wait for you to say it. And I'm like, if I got to see your calzones, there's no reason why I need to see your butt. I don't wipe your ass no more. I don't need to see it, and I don't care if it has calzon chonis, whatever you call them, underwear, I don't need to see them. And that's for any of you that are out there still sagging your pants. I don't need to see your butt. I'm just sorry. I just don't.
I'll give you a reason why I stopped. Is because
yes, please do. Share it with us.
I learned that sagging your pants was a prison example from gay guys that were exposing themselves to be someone else's, excuse my language, but someone else's bitch. And so I learned that.
And this is no offense to anybody who is a homosexual at all whatsoever.
No offense.
No judgment.
No judgment. But I learned that and I was like, well, I'm not a fag, first of all. And that wasn't, after I grew and I matured a little bit, it wasn't as appealing to me anymore. And, it was like, it's kind of nasty to think about it. So if you're wearing light gray underwear or boxers, you see the sweat line. So I'm like, I'm not trying to do that either. But
by the way, he's never shared this with me. I'm learning it just with you.
I've never shared that, but I learned that and I was like, no more. And I have never sagged my pants since. Mm. And so I guess.
And you saw this where, on TV?
Yeah.
On YouTube?
No, one of my friends told me this when I was still in, I think, first year of middle school. And
was that after I put your ass on a corner?
Yes.
So, if you haven't seen the video on TikTok, people,
please don't.
I did put his ass on the street, and I put it on TikTok. I have a TikTok video, and I put it. This is about 3 years ago now, huh?
4, I think.
No, 3, because we've been living there 3 years. So it was about 3 years ago. And it progressed, and I was at my wit's end. I was done. I could not do it anymore, and I was tired because I didn't want my son. And funny how you reference prison, because if you watch the video, no joke, I put on the sign, I don't want to go to prison. Something about prison, that about sagging your pants, that my mom provides this for me. He comes from a loving home, yada, yada, yada. And of course, I got a plethora of backlash, and people were going to report me, whatever. You don't know my household. You don't know what I do. But if you watch the rest of my, plethora of videos that I have out here, my episodes, you'll see that what kind of person I really am. And hopefully that will rechange your thought process of me. If not, we need to check your diet. But in that, it's like, I was like, I'm not having you go to prison. I'm not going to have you become that thug. I do not want you to have that mentality. That is not what I birthed you for. That is not what God created you for. I'm not knocking anyone who is in prison. His father was in prison for 10 and a half years. I had many loved ones that are in prison. There's a lot of people I still love and care about that are currently incarcerated. But you know what? You made the wrong choice. You did that, you did the crime, you do the time. And if I did something I expect to be locked up too, doesn't mean that it changes who I am as an individual. I made a bad choice. And I didn't want his concept of him wearing the clothes that he was wearing, because he wasn't looking within, that I saw within him, that led to him just being surface because he wanted to be cool, right? He wanted to be cool, and he was hanging around with all the wrong people. I'm just not having that. I did have one wonderful mother that did pull over, her and her daughter, to actually stop and pray with us. And that was pretty phenomenal. I'm grateful to her for doing that with him. And, you know, it just took a time and process of things and a plethora of other domino effects of things that we went through and challenges we went through. And hopefully one day, we've been talking about it just recently, that we'll go back onto my TikTok, because ever since then I think I didn't do very many videos after that. I'll figure that out. But we didn't I didn't do a whole lot of videos after that. I just slowed it down. My main focus was not being famous on TikTok. It was about, you know, I told my son, you want to shame me? I'm going to shame you and see how it feels. And he didn't like it. And how does that make you feel now?
Honestly, more, what's the word? I feel a lot more respect for my mom for it, because if she didn't do that, I would still be doing it. So, and just the thought of maturity from it too that I gained. And when you're at that certain point in your life where there's a big change that has to happen, and that change was not really voluntarily, but it was more or less forced upon me, but for a good reason. And I feel like even if it is forced upon you, it's for a good reason. There's a good cause, but there is.
I had a good motive.
Yeah, she had a motive, and she had a reasoning. So, as one of her sayings is, it's better to stay well than to get well. And I wasn't staying well, so I had to get well. And now that I'm staying well, I think my life has progressed for the better.
Yeah, and you have come around a lot in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of progress for me to do, but I feel like there's a lot of progress for anyone to do at any age. Mm-hmm. So I've seen a lot of ignorant people, elder people.
Not just ignorant, that's stupidity.
No, yeah, that's the difference.
We talked about that before.
We talked about it, yeah. You knowing it and doing it still is stupid. Mm. So, but yeah, there's just not, those kids are so, I'm not going to call them any words, but the phrase is stupid. So, you know, they know what they're doing and they still decide to do it anyways, and it's probably not even their fault. They was probably raised like that, and it's just the way they dress and they're used to it, or they were put upon that because they were hanging around the wrong group. So it's either or, but there is a repercussion to every action.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into what I was going to say next is, you know, we're so prone to looking for the quick fix, right? Mm-hmm. The quick fix to now, like we want something quick. The entitlement and quick fix morale that we're in this environment we're in, where we think we need to have it this way. You know, let's snatch it up, let's tuck it, let's nip it, let's look like we're, what's the stupid word, swag, and make it look like it's cool, like it's good, like it's a good persona thing. Yeah, but I mean, I think a certain individual that's on tabloids right now thought he had a certain persona, and look at him now, like it's biting him in the ass, and it's horrible. It's really horrible. And how many people are, you know, following that trend, right? And I think it's because we're not looking deep within us. We're too busy with the shallowness of it, and so we're looking for that quick fix. We're looking for that quick form, pill, substance, drink, whatever it may be, and not understanding how our bodies our inner spirits are from the inside out. Like, you know, I mean, we were all birthed into this earth naked.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't until we read the Word of God that we didn't realize what nakedness was until sin entered in the world. Right. And, you know, if not, we'd all be still walking around naked, and no matter what our bodies look like.
There would be no judgment. There would be no
judgment, but I think we would all be healthy too. Like, we wouldn't be gravitating towards, like, all the stuff we have, and it wouldn't be where we're at.
Yeah, because, you know, not want, but it's deception almost. Like, you're programming your brain to do that. It's like it's feeding what you want.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say here, it's like
desire.
there's a feeling for people that have to feel like they're beautiful, right? But in a very superficial way,
Right.
not something that is, because it's filling a void.
Right.
It's masking trauma that we've been through. And so, you know, I see a young girl that's showing all her stuff like we were talking about earlier. It makes me think like, why? Who's not loving her?
Right.
Who's not caring for
valuing her?
Who is not showing her her worth and her value that she has? And it's like, wow. And I see a guy who's sagging his pants, whether he's 15 or 12 or 15 years old, or he's 45, which drives me nuts and makes me scream out the window sometimes, is pull up your damn pants. And
which has
it's
happened.
But it makes me think like the reason why we're doing it. There's a previous trauma, like we're just going and feeling like, hey, we need to be this certain type of way, and because we're not really healing within. You know, we're not looking deeper. We're afraid to. We don't want to, what I call, revisit that hell that we went through in our life for us to heal the process. We don't want to go through that valley again. But in order to heal the process, we need to go through that valley, just like in our diets, right? We need to, with our diets, we need to go through that aches and pains, the headaches, and man, I'm telling you, my body was aching the other day. I was in such excruciating pain. I had an ice pack, I had ointment on me, I was detoxifying this mucus out of my body that was deep within. And mind you, I don't eat a lot of mucus-forming foods. But we're talking mucus that stays and stores in your body. And it's like, you know, coming out of my body, and I was in so much agony, my bones and everything. Nobody wants to go through that process. Nobody does.
Especially not voluntarily.
No, we want to mask it. Let's nip it. Let's tuck it. Let's, you know, put something on it. Let's, you know, put the creams and the ointments and stuff like that, and put these quick fix pills and drinks and stuff, and, you know, energy drinks to give us energy instead of eating complex sugars and not the saturated fats and the refined sugars that are going to give us, you know, that energy, right? Let's have this quick fix mentality, because nobody really wants to look deeper.
Right.
If we really stopped and looked at it like you looked at those individuals this weekend, it would have a different concept in your brain. Like, do you feel like I mean, I honestly feel like he grew and just, you know, since he's been back since yesterday.
Yeah.
But you have done tremendous in just the way he talks. Like, I haven't seen him. Well, you were kind of a little agitated because I know he didn't eat great food when he was there.
And I was so tired. We were going to bed at like 1 in the morning.
Yeah, and he woke up at like 2:30 when he came home the next day.
Yeah, in the afternoon. So it was horrible. I had threw my sleeping pattern off. I was tired from not just having fun by myself, but also watching other people have fun. And I think that kind of woke something up inside of me, knowing like there's a difference, you know, in every single one of us, and we're all unique and special, and there's a certain place for us, every slot for that individual, and there's a place for us to be in. If those actions didn't have a repercussion or a reaction, you know, then the world would not be like this, you know, like there would be no value in anything. Like, oh, I bought a new car, who cares?
Which is funny how you say the word repercussions, because my next point was not thoroughly thinking about the repercussions down the road. You know, when we get snipped and tucked and we do things to our bodies or our minds, and we put ourselves in positions, right? We're not thinking about the repercussions. We can say like a girl who puts herself in, and I mean, there's a lot of controversy on this, where people are like, oh, well, just because a person's dressed a certain way doesn't mean that she's called to be raped. I'm a raped victim. Didn't dress that way. However, you're enticing. If I put meat in front of my dog is literally this big. She weighs about 60 pounds. If I put meat in front of her and I leave it there and I walk away, that cabrona is going to eat that meat. She's going to eat that food. No matter how trained she is, no matter how, her natural within herself is going to eat that meat.
Her instinct.
Yeah. She's automatically going to do it. With that being said, a man is still a man. Human is still human. If you're dangling a half-naked girl, whether she's 15, whether she's 5 or 15 or 35 or 55, a man don't care what she look like. She's still something he desires. You don't know what's going on in his head. And so you're dangling yourself like that piece of meat. Whether it's a young man wearing his pants below his butt, wearing a hoodie because it's comfortable, because this is what I want to feel, because this is how the world tells me I need to be. He hates it when I do that. But it's true. I mean, us moms understand it, and now I think he understands it. But when we do that, we're putting ourselves positions to getting pulled over, getting shut to the floor, thinking you're a thug, thinking you're the one who caused the problem. Now, not every person in every situation is going to be like that. Right now, we're in a position in this world where, I mean, if you're a different ethnicity, where, people are afraid of being deported. So, I mean, that in itself, I mean, I'm not talking about, you can't control being Hispanic or being black or being white or being Asian, it's like, or being from another country. It's like, you can't stop that. But, I'm not speaking like about that type of challenge. I'm talking about you putting yourself in positions where you shouldn't, it's going to cause some type of repercussion. If you know that you shouldn't be at that party, or you're at a party and you're over there drinking up a storm and you're getting so drunk off your ass and you're like wondering, why can't I remember anything? Or why did I have this drug? Or I got raped, or I was drugged, or, it's like, well, why did you put yourself in that position?
Right.
Like, real talk. Like, why did you put yourself in that position?
And those people are, I won't say fake. Well, I will say fake. No, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's my judgment. But I will say it's so fake the way they act, because they want to have this persona of like, oh, I'm this and that. But then you take off the hoodie, or you take off, what's on the outside, and you see on what's on the inside. It's someone that's scared, or someone that's innocent, or someone that's had trauma.
Yes.
And it's so superficial, and so it's like fake. Like, I don't get it why people do that.
So like in that, I'll piggyback off of that. There's an individual that lives in our community that he was gravitating to, and I always tell all my children, if you're not going to be the leader in that situation where you see someone who needs help, right? Who like sagging his pants, wearing a hoodie, you could see that there's a lot of trauma going on in their life. I've told you several times that if you're not going to be the leader, don't be the follower, because if not, you're going to end up being like that person, right? They're going to be more that want to influence you, because they're not the one looking deep within themselves, right? Let's go back to the whole title of this episode. They're being very shallow. They're going, like I said, about their trauma. So this individual is being raised by siblings, older siblings, right?
No, his grandparents.
Grandparents. So God only knows what happened to his parents.
So I will tell you the story. And I'm not going to say names. I'm going to say certain specifics, just for his own safety. But this person lives in our community. I would say I'm friends with him. And I won't say acquaintance, because I do know him on a deeper level. He has told me stuff that, I don't know, who knows.
Right.
But his parents had left him at an early age. His mom was a drinker. His dad was a druggie. And they lived in their car for quite a bit of time. I would say maybe like a year. And his dad left, just his mom, his sister, and his mom. And so as that happens, certain things grow, and he has this past trauma from it. And now he lives with his grandparents, and he's really a lot better. And he has changed a lot. He had longer hair, he was heavier, and he's still quite big, but he has come a long way. And so now he does have that past trauma where he does sag his pants, and he looks all like, not like ghetto-ish, but more like that cholo vibe, And so that's how he just dresses, and and he's told me, like, it's just passed around me. You know, I've dressed like this my whole, like, all the time, and he can't get out of that.
And he was a nice kid. I mean,
He is a
he
nice
has
kid.
come to us and he's like, ma'am, sir, you know, he does know some manners. Somebody did sow something
Right.
in him. But I said all that with that individual because you were at a stage in your life, and this is right before I put him on a corner. Okay, people, so I just want you to know that, that he started hanging out with them. And because he wasn't strong enough in his walk within his own self, then he ended up becoming like this individual who eventually starts vaping and doing other things. And it's causing more harm to your body than anything. I mean, your spirit, mind, and your body, everything.
Right.
So you end up becoming like them, you know, but you're asking for trouble. And he asks for a lot of trouble. And people cross judgment and people look at him a certain way. I've looked at him a certain way, but I've even expressed to my son that something's going on with him. There's something majorly going on. Nobody's guiding this young man. I'm not the one to sign up for it. So my job is just to pray that somebody does. And so when he would go, I'm like, you know what? I don't like the fact that you're with them. There's another young man that's also in our neighborhood that my son, you know, tends to gravitate to as well. But I'm like, hey, if you're not going to be the leader in that, then I'm not going to. So he tells me, you know, I speak to him.
Yeah, the second person, I've seen him grow a lot, I believe, and he, you know, he does have some habits that I don't contribute to.
Yeah, because I've seen him vape, which makes me not want to have him around him.
But I feel like I've grown to where I know that's bad, and you know, I've helped him a lot. And when because he had been a parent at a young age because of his parents leaving him,
and he's also being raised by his grandparents.
He's
right. Or
uncle. I thought we
uncle.
were talking about the same person.
No, there's the other one.
Right.
The new one.
So the new one, the second person, he's with his grandparents. The first one is with his actual parents.
Oh, okay.
And so the second one has a little sister, and he walks her to the bus, and I walk my brother to the bus sometimes. And his sister and my brother are friends. And so over time, we grew to know each other, and I'm helping him go to the gym and quit these bad habits. But I feel like I've brought a lot of impact on him, and I've introduced him to God and all that stuff. And I feel like I can make a lot of progress with him. I'm not saying that I could make him quit vaping or I can make him quit all these bad habits. Like, I'm not the perfect fixer. You know, I'm not God. But I could definitely help. And so when I contribute to that, I feel like I'm making a difference. And so that kind of helps me in the long run try to help more.
Well, it was funny because I did tell him, like, you need to tell him to pick up his pants.
Right. And so
And then the next time I seen him, and Kawika walked with him home from the bus stop, and he was pulling up his pants in front of my house.
Yeah. And so it's more.
In the long run, he'll be thankful that I said that.
Yeah. And so I've told him the reference, and he was like, okay, I'll try more. You know, I'll try harder.
Because even the way he walks, you know, like he purposely tries to walk like Mr. Gangster. And I'm like, does he not realize that he's going to cause himself to have hip problems when he's like 65?
Yeah, but the only way
Maybe even 55?
The only reason he walks like that is because he's had to walk like that to make himself look like he's all like this.
Okay, I get that. I get that because there's been people I've mentored that, and even myself, I will say the same thing. Like when I have to be out in the streets, you'll
put a certain persona on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys seen a picture. You go onto my Instagram or my Facebook, and you'll see that, you know, we went to a cholo party.
I think it was on your Instagram.
I think I put on both though. But we went to a cholo party, my husband and I, and it was all our own clothes.
It was. And it was
like
really good
it could come out, like that ghetto-ness can still come out of me. And when I have to be out on the street, I can look like a thug if I want to. I'm not going to act like one unless I have to. But you know, where I have to take care of myself. But you know, I mean, it's still there, and I understand that you have to. So sometimes when I'm out in the street, you know, and I'm with my children by myself, especially my little one by myself now, because, you know, he's bigger. But even then, I always tell him there's always somebody bigger and stronger than you. So just being mindful, you know. I have to be mindful, and there's a certain persona that I will put on is you really don't want to mess with me. And
Right.
I mean, I think I have that vibe, period,
Yeah,
that
in
people tell
general,
me,
yeah.
but it magnifies even more. And it's not something that I intentionally do, it just naturally comes.
Yeah.
But now with what I do, I try to be like, it's the way I walk, you know, it's like, I remember years ago, before you were born, my mother-in-law, his grandmother, used to tell me, why do you walk like that? And I'll be like, walk like what? And she would tease me and go like, your hips are just like this. And I was like, she goes, you're gonna have back problems. And I'm like, what the hell is this lady talking about? You know, I don't know what she's talking about. And then I already had back issues, but it started like it sowed a seed in me. And she was like, you need to walk with your shoulders and your hips lying together, which makes you stand up straight. And then as you walk, you're not so heavy-footed, you're not out of balance, and it keeps the core stronger. And I'm grateful that mom, you know, gave me that little bit of advice, you know, about walking. And then there was even a mother moment where she said I didn't have to sound like a stampede when I'm walking, and being, you know, more graceful. And as a woman, nobody taught me how to be graceful. It was really my mother-in-law that taught me how to have more grace and be more of a lady. Except I had a grandmother while she was around that did teach me, you know, to sit a certain way, and women do certain things this way. And
Right.
that's what we did. We didn't, like, you know, have our legs open. And
Right.
even though, like, I might at home, but, you know, I'm not going to be doing that, like, you know,
Out
out
in
in
public,
public.
yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's really just understanding that there are repercussions
Right.
to everything that we do. And as your dad always tells you, for every action, there's a
Reaction.
exactly. So many things that are like on social media that are out there that are, I believe, that are really harming us. And this is why we're always, I'm always explaining to my son, like, you'll see stuff about collagen pills and protein mixes and
Right.
energy drinks and different exercises, certain diets. That, oh my gosh, there's this one, I don't know, we used to call them infomercials, but commercial
An ad.
about an ad, there you go, no word, ad today about collagen, and they hire celebrities and
Right.
they put them out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and my neck, and here's some cream and this and that, and oh, let's not change the diet.
Right.
Let's just slap something on. Now, I am partnered up with another company that does help, and they're all plant-based, and I have those, that outlet for individuals that may want that type of lifestyle, and that's okay. There's other different types of things that they provide that are all plant-based, that are natural and healthy. Not everything that they do, but majority of what they do. And if that client of mine or customer of mine that wants that, then I'm able to supply that to them, and that's okay. But I'm not going to gravitate and promote something that is going to harm somebody. I'm really
Right.
not. But we are, you know, looking at these things so I can be more youthful. I mean, I know growing up, I've seen so many women, elder women, like trying to look younger, and then I see it now as an older, you know, woman people are trying to look younger. And when people tell me like, oh my gosh, your skin is so glowy, or, you know, you don't even look like you're going to be 50, and it's like, great, thank you. It's just lifestyle. It's just lifestyle. And my kids can tell you it's lifestyle. I mean, I'm not perfect. I do eat things sometimes from time to time, and not a lot of things, and not as often when I mean time to time. But, you know, we all fall short, right? I mean, God says we all will fall short. And it's not just to his glory, we'll fall short to ourselves. So, you know, we see all these things and exercises and stuff, and I was leaning into that with, like, we'll see with sports. We were talking about this not that long ago about ice baths. And he's like, because as someone who's in sports,
Right.
and we were saying, I even said, well, I probably should have bought, there was this guy that came to the park, and he was selling these portable ice bath, blow up ice bath things. And,
Right.
and it sounds great. And even PT and OT might say it's good and this and that. But if we really look at it from a deeper perspective, right, we're talking about digging deeper. And
You shouldn't be shocking your body like that.
you don't want to. Like, if you put your body right now and put it in the Antarctic with nothing on, what is that equivalent? Hypothermia.
Or barely anything on.
or barely anything on, then yeah, you're gonna get hyperthermia, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna put your organs into shock. That's the same thing that happens when you're drinking really cold water, unless it's extremely hot and your body temperature is hotter because you're outside and it's hotter. It's like 103, 106. You live in Las Vegas. You're in somewhere. You're in Jamaica. You're in somewhere where it's just like so humid, and you're even in Florida and it's like so hot. I remember living in Georgia and it was really hot. So drinking something cold to cool your body down, but not a consistency of it, is key.
Yeah. Now you see all these athletes, they're like in the sauna or in the jacuzzi or a hot tub, and then they go into an ice bath and then they keep on doing it. Now maybe their body needs it, maybe it's part of their recovery phase, but even then, a normal person shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, you should be playing a cold pack.
They've trained their body to be conditioned like that. And so when they're big time athletes, you have this routine and you've done it before and you've progressed over time to do that. It's not so much of like they know their limits. And so when you're new to doing it, you don't really know because you haven't done it before.
Right. Like I have a client, we were having this conversation and he was talking about how Chuck Norris has these pills. Because he's had machineries that he's endorsed and this and that, and he looks great for his age. I mean, absolutely. I think Chuck Norris is like in his 70s or 80s right now, and he looks phenomenal. He promotes certain type of wellness, and so my client bought it, and he's one of my cleaning clients, elderly clients, and he bought it, and I was like, yeah, he shouldn't be taking it. With his history of what's going on in his life, medically, I don't think that he should be taking it, but that's his choice, and so he's taking it, and I'm like, no, I think someone should start out slow and steady, and really examine themselves and look deeper within what it is they need, reflect, right? I mean, really look, what do you need in this moment? Not like, hey, yeah, I can eat that 20-pound burrito and when I was 18, but I'm 45, 65 years old. I can't do it now. Your body is not, your metabolism is not the same anymore. I mean, I do know an individual in his 70s who could still be jumping ball. And I'm like, hey, is Papa still shooting ball? And his wife's like, yep. And I'm like, that is phenomenal.
Why is because those people have
conditioned
and done it for so long.
Yeah.
And so
or living in the blue zones like I was talking about on a previous episode.
Yeah, but even me, when I came back from the weekend and I played or I went to go outside and train, I felt slower for whatever reason because I haven't touched a ball in 2 days.
But look what you were eating.
But look, yeah, I was eating out.
And your sleeping was off.
And my sleeping
was
off.
This boy has gone to bed at 8 o'clock since he's been born.
Yes, or at 9:30.
Now, well, it's getting a little bit later.
Getting a little bit later.
Like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he has been going to bed at 8 o'clock since the day he's been born.
And I do value my sleep.
You should, because
because I don't get a lot. But that's another time to talk about that.
That's a different episode.
That's another episode. That's a different
But
time.
That's a more of a spiritual episode
Yes,
of why we would need to be talking about something like that. But yeah, so when we do certain exercises and we do certain things to our bodies, it can become and cause severe trauma to our bodies, and it could end up being permanent. So please know this, because I remember that P90X was like this big fad back in the day, and everybody was doing P90X. I know an individual that had 5 hernias that started because the original one started because of a P90X, and then it dominoed effect because then you thought you were healed. You can't see the hernia unless you go to the doctor.
You can't see the inside of your body.
Right, that's why I keep saying if it was outside, it'd be a lot easier for us to know what our next step is, but it's not. So you have to take it with time and gotta take it with grace. And he went and started, exercising again and started another hernia, and then did the same thing. And before you know, you're 5 hernias in. And as you get older, it takes time for your body to repair itself.
It takes a lot longer.
Yep, takes a lot longer, and we need to remember that. So keep in mind when we're looking at, this protein shake or this collagen this or this energy this or anything, what are the repercussions later down the road when we're taking medications? Same thing.
Because with a lot of energy drinks nowadays, there's good energy, but then there's a crash. And that crash is
they've had with Red Bull, they've had things on Monster.
and then certain
and just
ones are
recently they're talking
worse.
about like Ozempic and all kinds of other
certain
stuff.
ones are worse. Like certain energy drinks are worse, and then there's a worse crash afterwards. And so there's a lot of people like my age are like, oh, I'm drinking this energy drink and I have to do this assignment. And I'm like, you're young and you're messing up your liver, and two, you're having a crash which your body isn't used to, and if you keep on doing it over and over again, it's temperamental, and so it's bad when you have these like these things that you have grown a habit on, and so your body gets used to it, and then your brain gets used to it, and you'll be like, oh, I'm 40 and I have problems. And 40 is still a young age.
I'm still young.
Yeah. And so when you're 40 and you have those problems, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and then you reflect, and then now it's too late for you to recover from it.
So like on a previous episode, what we were talking about with you, it's like we're not looking at the now, and we're not thinking about the repercussions down the road. And if we did think about it at your age, and as parents start really teaching and showing our children how to value themselves now, they're going to take heed to that, and they're not going to want to do the things that they're doing. There still will be peer pressure and stuff, and we can label it all the things we want, but we really need to start looking at that. Why are we doing what we're doing, and what is going to be the aftermath, right? So what can we do to make it better? For me, I say it's just stop listening to the trends and following what God is telling you to do at the end of the day, because it's all about our own individual lives, right? It's not about what the Joneses are doing. Like back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, what's what the Joneses are doing, keeping up with the Joneses. Now keeping up with Kardashians, and now keeping up with whomever. And you know what? I can give a rat's, about it. I don't care what anybody's doing. I'm going to eat what I want to eat, the way I'm going to eat it, for the benefit of me. I'm going to dress how I'm going to dress for the benefit of me. I'm going to think how I'm going to think for the benefit of me, and so forth. And I'm going to raise my children in the way I'm going to raise them for the benefit of them, whether they think it is beneficial for them now. Like you heard him say, it's like he's seeing things what I was doing, and it's the same thing that I'm doing now that I was doing back then. Right. It's just he's grown.
And it's not for her to be controlling either. It's more or less.
I'm gonna play this video back for the next time we have it.
It's more or less of her trying to put a good habit on us for when we grow up.
Absolutely.
Because she doesn't want us to be 20 and crippled, or eventually when we're older, we have problems, and then you have to make up for that time.
Well, I think my initial goal as a parent when it comes to my children is I can go at any time. I can die right after this recording, and this may be my last episode. But as I take my son to the bus, as I drop him off at school, practice, whatever it is that I depart from them, it could be my last moment. Tomorrow is not promised. And we all know that. Like, there's been plenty of loved ones we've had in our lives where we just saw them and they're gone. And so my goal as a parent,
live today as there is no tomorrow.
Yeah, and that scripture, and my goal is to make sure that when I depart from them, I've taught them everything I possibly can in this moment, from this point in their lives, that they can substantially, between the four of them, teach each other. What one grasped and the other one didn't, they can sharpen each other moving forward after I'm gone. That's my goal as a parent. So having them look deeper within themselves and not being so superficial, not following trends, not doing it. I went through the Madonna stage and the Jodie Watley stage and the, what was her name that likes to dance? And Janet Jackson. I did it all, I went through those where I followed them and I wanted to dance like them or I wanted to dress like them, but I did it very minutely. I really did. I didn't have big, long moments where, I changed my whole life and appearance where I wanted to look like that celebrity, and that's a little too extreme for me. But I did that, but if we just stop listening to those trends and we really look, like I said on a previous episode, and really take in that mirror, like Michael Jackson said, and look at the man in the mirror. What does he want? What do you want in this life? Do you want to look like Michael Jackson? Okay, then fulfill that prophecy, I guess, make it reality for you. But if your why is to, like myself, is to live a long, healthy life and not depend on my children, I am never going to live with this boy, ever. He could financially take care of me somewhere else. But he is not going to, I'm never going to live with him.
The
I'm
longest
never gonna
she'll
live with
stay
any
with
of
me
my
is a
children.
couple days.
Well, I mean, I think I have a little bit longer to come and visit, but I'm not going to be like, I figured I have 4 children, and if they want to have anything to do with me back then, I can, and I have 3 grandchildren right now. There's 12 months out of the year. I can come and visit all of them wherever they're at and spend time, not with them, maybe not even in their household, and they just come visit. We'll do lunch and, and dinner or whatever and whatnot, and have moments to talk and meet up, but not like me solely dependent and living with them is not happening. That is a goal of mine.
Nope.
I want to be able to function and do things on my own. And Lord willing, I just pass away in my sleep. That's how I see life for myself. But I want to live life in this fullest.
Because that's what I would want. Because I don't want anything to happen traumatically and I be traumatized for the rest of my life.
Well, even if it does, just to piggyback on that, even if it does happen traumatically, it was God's will.
Right.
But my goal as a parent is not for them to financially or physically take care of me at all whatsoever. I don't need you to say, here, mijo, read this paper for me. What does it mean? I know how to read English, unless it's in a language that I don't know, then, hey, maybe you can help me. But there's always going to be Google, right? So, or some type of outsource where I can figure it out myself. I'm an intelligent woman. And as long as I feed myself those antioxidants and feed my immune system, like I shared on other episodes, then
greatly be able to.
Then I will remember everything because I won't have dementia and I won't have Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and all that other stuff. I feel for people that do because nobody taught them, and that's how I see it. Nobody taught them. So that's one thing we could do to start feeling better is stop following the trends. Do what God wants you to do. And if you're not sure what that is, you need someone to pray with you, you need some direction, hit me up. I would love to chat with you. And then if you honestly believe that, I honestly believe that if every man and woman would just take up their own household, stop worrying about what other people are doing. We've had many conversations about this before. If I focus on my son, my 2 sons that are still at home, and my husband and myself, I don't have to be worried about you or anybody else. It's my job to sharpen you as a woman of God. If I can, if you allow me to, I provide that information to you, and it's up to you what you want to do with it. But it's not for me to go to your household and manage it and micromanage you and say, no, you're not doing this and you should be doing this. And that's not my job.
Because you're not someone's caregiver.
No, and even if I was somebody's caregiver, it's still not my decision to make. I've cared for a lot of individuals. At the end of the day, it's their decision on what it is they want to do in their life.
It's their final say.
Absolutely. And that's what I want from my life. It's I want the final say. I want the final say at my celebration of life. I want the last say of my breath, unless the only one who's going to make those changes for me in my life is God. And I think that if every man and woman took up their own household, this world would be such a better place. I could pray for them. I could pray for them, like the young men that live in my community, pray for them. The things that they're doing, I could pray for them. If it's God's will, wants me to go and give something to them and say hello or do whatever, then that's different. But to take up their household and make their responsibilities mine, no. That is the ship that they need to drive. That's the ship that they need to navigate, not me. And I think if we really focus on what's here, it's going to be easier for us to really do, because that follows with other things I've said before. And if you want to know more, look at my previous episodes, because what I want people to understand is how to value themselves.
I think it shows integrity.
Really? Huh?
I think it shows integrity.
Yeah. You develop that character to have that great integrity, and if you don't, what's your why?
Right.
Stop, breathe, regroup, write it out if you have to, What do you want for your own household? Whether it's one person or you care for others, and even when those others go away or pass away and move on, you're still going to be you. So you can't give anybody what you don't have.
Right.
So why are you trying to fix somebody else?
Yeah, I know what my why is, because I want to grow up. I want to be successful. I want to be a professional football player, and I want to retire my mom. And I
Soccer,
want to, or
correct
soccer,
it, soccer.
football, whatever.
Well,
But
not every viewer would think
everybody
American
knows.
football.
Not everybody, yeah, but I want to retire my mom. I want to buy my little brother his first truck, or maybe buy him some property for his ranch, and put my nephews and nieces into a good place to stay, and even my siblings, even though some I may not like or other people I may not like. I want to give that to them because it will fulfill my dream and my successfulness. Because once I know I could do that, I have made my dream come true. And so when you make that point happen, I feel like that's your reasoning. That's your reasoning for
To stay focused.
To stay focused. Because if you don't have a reason, you're just living life just to live life.
Now, what if God changes that?
And if God changes that, it's for that to happen. I mean,
You're going to be okay with that?
I mean, I will be disappointed that my wants have changed, but I'll be okay with it because I know it's for the better, And even if those things do not happen, then I'll still be okay with it because I could be crippled tomorrow, or after when school starts, I could get crippled, and that will never happen. Me going professional, and then none of those things will happen. But
Well, not necessarily. They possibly could happen, but just in a different way.
Not in the way I would want.
Yeah.
And so when people have a foggy, idea of, oh, I don't even know what I want to be, then that's your problem. That's something you need to figure it out. And I know what I want, but do you? And I think that's different people's reasoning behind why people are successful and other people are not. It shows their drive.
They've come to value themselves, and
Right.
some people will call it arrogance or
self-centeredness,
self-centeredness
yeah.
or conceited. I mean, when back in the day when we were young, we were considered conceited, right? But
and that's what
it
makes
depends. I
them
mean, and
successful.
there's some people will say it's narcissistic.
Right.
I don't necessarily mean it's like understanding the person's motive and understanding why it is they want what it is they want. I mean, I've had many whys. I had a why when I was young like you. I wanted to be a nurse, and then I wanted to join the Navy and be a nurse and help people, other places in different countries. I didn't become a nurse. I didn't join the Navy. I became a mom, and I went down this domino effects of up and down, right? And then now I look where I'm at now. I just finished and took my last final, and I am officially a certified functional lifestyle practitioner. My 4th certification right before I'm 40, and I mean 40, 50. I know, I was like saying what I felt like 40.
Maybe you can get your 5th certification before you're 50.
Oh gosh, don't push it. That's 4 months. So, it's like I'm doing all this and I feel good about where I'm at, and God changed that avenue. And that's why I said, like, even though that was your why back then, my why today is just to fulfill anything that is God's will. And it could change. I've had so many things in my life change. But my oldest said to, we're going to close with this, is that my oldest had said a long time ago, he was about 8 years old, and he said, Mommy, he says, if we knew what God intended for us to have and what we had to do to get there, we probably would opt out and say no. And it's true. Because if I knew I was going to have to go through the plethora of up and downs that I went through in my life, the traumatic events that I shared on my first few episodes, I'm serious. I probably would have not be where I'm at today. And I'm grateful to where I'm at today.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, we have these discussions all the time, and he's like, I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it again.
But I think when you grow closer to God and you really have a love for God, which you're still learning to build that relationship, and I think you
grow to be thankful for it.
Well, it's also, yes, and it's easier for you to jump on the boat he wants and go through whatever waves he wants it to be, whatever that destination looks like.
Right.
Like one of the things you said to me not that long ago, which was one of the greatest compliments my son said, was, do you remember about my faith?
Oh, I said I admire your faith because even though you go through so many things and tribulations, you still have your faith to fall back on, and that's something that I do admire, because even if your mind is foggy and you're not sure of your decisions or God's decisions, you still have your faith to fall back on. And when you trust in Him so much, you know there's going to be a good outcome. And even if it is a bad outcome, that outcome came for a reason. And so I think that's a big lesson I learned. So and there's a lot more to be learning on that aspect, but that's for another time.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. I'm proud. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope everybody learned something, even if it was just one person. Like I've said, please feel free to like, comment, and share. And you could follow me on my Instagram as well, Vitality with V. You could also find me on Facebook as well. And feel free to email me. There's a link in the top of my bio, and you can email me, set up a consultation, just want to chat. I'm there to help anybody fulfill whatever it is that I can do to optimize some person's well-being. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.